What could possibly go wrong? All right, so before we get to the transmission drama, I just want to give you guys kind of a recap. Anybody who's new to the channel, this is my 1986 Pontiac Trans Am. We literally just started an engine swap, putting an L83 from a 2016 Yukon into this thing. It's going to be fuel injected. It's going to get boosted eventually. It should be a lot of fun. If you guys want to see other videos on this before I actually started the engine swap, I'm going to put the playlist at the top of the screen. You get all caught up and come back to this one. So last video, we did pull the engine, we pulled the transmission, and next up, we're going to be pulling the front end apart. That's the cross member, control arms, the springs, all that stuff has to come out because I have the tubular cross member that a viewer sent me a while back that we're going to be test fitting and yeah, getting installed into this car. But before we get to that, I do need to talk about the transmission. So this is the Trans Am's future transmission. It's broken. It cost me $200. It has no third gear, and I bought it off of Facebook. This one in particular is a 4L70E, the 4L60, the 4L65, and the 4L70. They're all basically the same transmission, just years later, they kind of made some upgrades to them. The 70E has, well, it's the strongest of the three, the 7.0 denoting the strength, so 60 is the weakest, 65 is a little better, 70 is the strongest. It has the upgraded 5-pinion planetaries. I think the input and output shafts are a little bit stronger, and it's rated at around, I think, 380 foot-pounds of torque. It's basically a Trailblazer SS transmission, and behind the stock L83 here, that puts out, I think, exactly around 380. It should do just fine until we actually boost it. Once again, I'm gonna get into my reasoning at the end of the video if you wanna stick around for that. And before you leave a comment saying it's a stupid transmission, it's gonna blow up, there are better options out there, just wait till the end. I promise it might make a little more sense. So this is the cross member we are going to be installing today. This is a BMR unit, courtesy of a viewer that actually sent it to me a few months back. And the main reason for installing this is going to be for more space when it comes to actually boosting the car. It's going to allow more room for turbo piping. Plus it's going to allow us to run low mount accessories, which we're going to need to make room for the turbo. But before we get this guy installed, obviously we need to get the original one out. You can see just looking at this thing, it is pretty bulky compared to the BMR unit. So we are gonna end up shaving a little weight off the front end just by swapping this out. So to get this thing removed, first we need to get the car up on jack stands. I definitely recommend using a pair of 6 tons for this. You need the front end as high as possible because in order to remove these springs, we need to lower the control arm with the jack and actually swing the thing pretty much 90 degrees with the K-member in order to pop it out. But with the car already high enough and one of the wheels removed, first thing you're going to want to do is pretty much remove the spindles from each side of the car. This is easily done by just removing any components that are attached to it. I ended up just disconnecting the caliper and leaving it hanging from the fender so I didn't have to pop the brake hose off. But as far as the caliper bracket, the rotor, and the hub assembly itself, I just left all that on the spindle because it is being transferred over to our tubular cross member. So with both spindles removed and the brake lines pushed up out of the way so they're not going to drain the master cylinder, I'm now going to pull out the sway bar. We have a new BMR unit going in that came with the cross member, once again thanks to that viewer. And with that out of the way, we were ready to pull the cross member down. This thing is just held in place with 6 18mm headed bolts. There are also a couple of brackets towards the front. You can see one right there. Those are held in place with 2 bolts holding it to the cross member and then a single bolt going to the frame. And after zipping all 6 of those out, the cross member is just going to fall right down. Definitely recommend putting a jack or something under there. I've done this before, so I kind of know what to expect and how it's going to fall, but it definitely is not light by any means. So what we have right here is a tubular cross member from BMR. A viewer actually sent me this entire setup. He bought it for his car. I think he had it sitting around for a few years. He had a problem with the bolt holes lining up, so he got in contact with me. He wanted to know if I wanted to, give it a try in my car. He figured maybe the front end of his car is tweaked. We really don't know. We're gonna have to kind of get it set up and see what doesn't line up, if that does turn out to be the case. But the main benefit of this over the factory cross member here is going to be space savings. You can see compared to the factory cross member, we don't have any of this extra metal around the spring perches, around the motor mounts. So in this case of putting the L83 in the Trans Am, we want as much room as possible to possibly clear those factory accessories. I want to clear the compressor, and more importantly, I want as much room as possible to kind of fit any kind of turbo piping that I'm going to run when the time does come to boost this thing. But as for added benefits of strength, I really don't see any. There's a lot more welds on this than there is on the factory piece. The factory cross member is basically one solid unit. So I definitely wouldn't recommend one of these setups if you just want to swap it out because it looks nice, or even weight savings. I do have the crane scale, we have the engine hoist. I'm gonna hook both of these guys up. We're gonna see if the roughly $1,200 price tag of this entire unit is worthwhile for whatever weight savings we might get over the factory unit. We're up. Oh wow, all right. 55 pounds. So that's a solid 30 pounds off the front end. Is it worth the, with the control arms and everything, I think they're around between $1,200 to $1,500 for that 30 pounds. I don't think so. But once again, in the case of you need extra space, you want the room to run factory accessories. You want the room for turbo piping, factory accessories without having to notch the factory cross member. Definitely, I think it's worth it. Plus you get an extra 30 pounds of weight savings on top of that. So installing the new tubular unit is just as easy as pulling the old one out. Now, when I went to install this, I did notice that the two rearmost mounting holes did not line up with the holes in the body. They were actually off by a substantial amount. What I ended up doing was calling up BMR, and they did say sometimes you just have to pull the cross member into position. So I managed to kind of pry it over with the head of the impact gun and get those two bolts into position. Hopefully this isn't going to lead to alignment issues or drivability problems down the line. All right, so our tubular cross member is installed. I just went around, torqued all the bolts to 85 foot-pounds as per BMR spec. And I think I'm gonna finish up the brake lines off camera. I tried running them back down to where they kind of were before, but the shape of the cross member, it's just not gonna work, and it's gonna be easier just to make all new stuff and actually, make it custom fit this cross member. As for the control arms and the sway bar, I'm gonna do that stuff later once the motor's in position. There's really no need to have the springs installed, the control arms installed, especially since I'm going to be kind of swinging in and out from underneath there. It's just better to have some more room at this point. All right, guys, so before we finish up here, I do want to give you my reasoning for going with this transmission. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a 4L70E. I wasn't on the lookout for one of these. I was actually just looking for 60Es, basically the cheapest core transmission I could find on Facebook. And then I came across this thing for 200 bucks. It has no third gear, and I'm going through it anyway, doing a rebuild. We're going to do clutches, steels, and seals, and we're basically going to throw it in the car in stock form. When I got it home, I actually saw the connector, and then I realized it was a 70E, which isn't a bad thing because it is a little stronger, so it should hold up relatively well behind the stock L83. Once we boost it, that's going to be a different story. I am going to be pulling it out again and basically beefing it up. My reasoning behind not just doing a full-on beef up now is because I want to really kind of do a test with this. I want to see how well one of these stock is going to hold up behind that, because it is going to be NA for a while, and I want to get gas mileage numbers. And I know a lot of guys are trying to do this on a budget, and you don't have thousands of dollars to dump into a beefed up transmission. You just want maybe a daily driver with a newer style engine. So by going with something that's completely stock and relatively cheap, we'll be able to see, you know, if it's actually going to hold up. But yeah, for actually why I went with this over a 4L80 or a 6L80, it basically comes down to the number one thing being the fitment of the torque arm. I really wanted to leave the torque arm mounting on the tail shaft of the transmission. The 4L80 and the 6L80, obviously they come in newer vehicles, or you know, vehicles without a torque arm like these cars had. So there's no provision to mount that. And I recently put a tubular torque arm on my Camaro, and honestly, I wish I could have left it on the tail shaft just because there's a lot more differential noise kind of just resonating through this tube that's now hard mounted to the body. And to add on to that, the installation of this is pretty much going to be just bolt in, because the 4L60 here, it's pretty much just an electronically controlled 700R4. The dimensions externally are basically the same. So that means we're not going to have to massage the transmission tunnel. We're not going to have to make a custom cross member. There's going to be, well, there should be no fitment issues, and hell, we might even be able to use the factory cross member. I won't even need a conversion unit. And lastly, it basically comes down to this transmission being capable of what I need to do with it. RPM Transmissions offers, I think it's their level 7, please correct me if I'm wrong, but they ran like, I think an 8.8, possibly faster with one of these transmissions beefed up. Now granted, you do need to spend some money, and it's not gonna be just a bolt-in deal where you could take essentially a stock 4L80 out of a truck, throw it in here, and do probably the same thing, maybe with some new clutches and a couple of minor upgrades. But for me, keeping the torque arm on the tail shaft, the ease of installation, the weight savings, this is obviously lighter than a 4L80 or a 6L80. Those things were important to me, and it just makes sense to go for this. But yeah, when the time comes to boost it, chances are I'm gonna pull the motor to do head gaskets, studs, and probably a bottom end, because I am aiming to get about 1,000 horsepower out of this thing. I'm going for like a sleeper with this car, and 1,000 is just a nice round, ridiculous number for a car from the 80s with basically a stock suspension setup, stock wheels and tires. So yeah, that's the number we're going for. All right, so we have our engine, we have our transmission, we have a way of getting it bolted into the car. Next video, we're gonna be dropping this thing in, at least for a test fit. I have a conversion oil pan on the way, as well as motor mount adapters, and I really wanna see if the low mount compressor is gonna clear the cross member as well as the intake for the hood. So hopefully we'll get this thing at least, you know, roughly bolted in. I could drop the hood on top, and from there on out, I'll be able to see exactly what else I'm gonna need to order to get this thing to fit in there nice and snug.